Hello, my name is Emily Anderson, and I am recording this video for the Week 6 Disposition Self-Assessment Survey for SEC 501. I am coming to you from Torrington, Wyoming. It is a pretty rural area, a lot of Title I, mostly Title I throughout the state of Wyoming. I am the mother to 3 children, and I am married. My children range from 15 to 2.5. So I have spread myself out pretty over an extended period of time. I I've been in public education for 14 years. Was not my first choice for a career path. However, I think education found me, and it's probably been the most life-changing situation that I've ever had, besides being a mother. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and about my educational beliefs, what I've experienced through that time, and what I strive to live by as an educator. I currently work as a secondary English teacher at a psychiatric residential treatment facility. It's a private Catholic facility, the only facility in the state of Wyoming. We are accredited through NCA. I teach on a provisional license, and I have for 2 years. Prior to that, I was a para. I did in-school suspension and behavior management. And then my last 2 years at my, yes, 2 years, 3 years, my last 3 years at the high school that I worked at, I served as the freshman academy coordinator, which meant that I oversaw 6 teachers and the entire freshman student body, which was about 125 kids. I did all the parent contact, grades, and so that was kind of a management experience that I had. As far as my educational beliefs, do I believe that all students can learn and should set and support realistic expectations for student success as the educator in the classroom? I 100% believe this. I strongly believe that every kid has an opportunity to learn. They're not all going to learn at the same pace. They're all not going to learn to the same ability level, but they can learn. And I think that a lot of times with the demands in public education, sometimes we forget this, and we want all kids to be equal, and we want to equate them to the same level. And that isn't the way that education was designed to be, because none of us learn at the same level or at the same pace or the same speed. But one of the reasons that I believe this very thoroughly is because through my years of experience, even if I didn't have the educational knowledge, I somehow naturally developed a way to work with people. And I spent a lot of time with tough kids, a lot of time with kids that other teachers didn't want in their room, other teachers kicked out of their room, other teachers had given up on, other institutions, DFS, probation and parole, peak wellness maybe had given up on. Those were the kids that I spent a lot of time with. And one of the reasons that they were successful with me is because I have a very, very sincere belief that building a relationship is the most important key to educating anyone. I'm sure that most of you have experienced a time where you've met a kid who was extremely bright, extremely talented, but they didn't care and they didn't want to do anything. And so finding motivation for those kids is hard. It's also building a confidence in them and having somebody that they can come to when the system fails them. And so I became that person for a lot of kids. I'm still that person for a lot of kids. And one of the ways that I do that is that I get to know them. I get to know you. I want to know, what are your interests? What do you like? Why do you like listening to 50 Cent? What is it about his music that you like? Or, why is Taylor Swift your role model? Or, what do you find inspirational about still watching Disney princess movies as a 12th grader? And so those are the questions that I ask. What's your favorite color? What do you like to do? What do you do on the weekends? And I don't do it invasively, but it's through conversation and open dialogue. And that means I share some stuff about myself too. Maybe it was that I tell them that, when I first went to college, I was a pre-med major. I never thought I'd be in education. I've had teachers that I don't necessarily get along with. So what were some skills that I used in their classrooms? Why do I still work at a high school? Why do I like coming to school every day? Those are the kinds of things that we bond about. We talk about. We share music ideas. Maybe it's, I know that a kid is a fanatic Bears fan. Well, the Bears don't win very often, but when they win, or when they had a phenomenal play over the weekend, I'm coming to school and I'm pointing that kid out and I'm saying, hey, I saw your Bears had a great, or they won by 3 in overtime, and just making that little connection. I also made it a point that I knew every kid's name by the end of the first quarter in the high school that I worked at. And I would address them by their names. They knew that I had taken the time to realize that I knew who they were. And when you have over 500 kids, that can be very difficult. And there were teachers that would say to me, I would say, I'm going to go get so and so from the math room for a minute. They need some intervention work. I'm going to pull them, see if they want to stay after school tonight. And they would say, who's that? I don't even know who that kid is. And they had no idea because they hadn't had him in class who that child was. And so that's very important to me. I attended a conference one time, an NCA conference, that an educator spoke to me, and it really spoke to my heart. And they said, pick one kid out that you don't have in class, and every day for an entire quarter, just go find them and just say hi to them. Don't address them. You don't have to have an open conversation, but every day find a point to say hi or hello or how are you, and pretty soon that kid will start seeking you out because they realize that you know that they're there. And so I tried that, and I tried it with multiple kids because I'm an overachiever, and it worked. Pretty soon, kids that I didn't even know knew who I was or I'd never had in my class. They'd never been in trouble. They never had a detention. They started seeking me out for things because they realized that I knew who they were. And so I believe that relationship is 100%. It's more important. You can be highly qualified in any field that you want, but if you can't speak to people and deal with people, then you'll never make it in this profession. Educators should be sensitive to individuals' learning and social needs of students and embrace the cultural diversity of the community. Absolutely. One of the reasons I believe that strongly is because we have a lot of kids that come from a lot of different backgrounds, and you could have a kid in your classroom whose parents never have had a financial struggle in their life, and you can have a kid in your classroom who they didn't eat over the weekend because mom and dad didn't have it, or they had to go pick their mom up at 2 a.m. from the bar because she was too drunk to drive home. They're worried about how their little sister's going to get picked up after school because they don't have their homework done and now you've given them detention. And knowing those things, recognizing that kids face real adult problems is huge. And you have to be sensitive. It doesn't mean that you give them a cop out. It doesn't mean that you don't hold them accountable. It means that you understand. Because if my light bill's late, I have 10 days. I can call and somebody's going to work with me. And that's the real world. And teaching kids how to be proactive when things are tough and when they're struggling, but to still be accountable is a real life skill. And I feel like that's very important. Educators should promote social justice and equity, maintaining appropriate standards of confidentiality. Absolutely. It is not, you are put in a position where you will find stuff out about kids or about their families, and it is not your job to go spreading that around. You should not. You should protect that. It doesn't mean that you go talk to them about it either. They'll talk to you if they want to. You can reach out to a kid, hey, how are you doing? But that's not your business. And if they want it to be your business, then they'll come talk to you about it. And that's, I feel, we don't violate kids' privacy. Some of your colleagues may be upset about that at times. Like, well, I didn't know this, or why didn't somebody tell it? Well, it's because it's not our business. It's their business. And so I find that to be very important. Educators should exercise sound judgment and ethical behavior. Absolutely. You're in a position of authority. Now, you're in that position, it doesn't mean they're going to give you that authority. You have to earn their respect. That's just a part of it. You have to earn their respect. However, we're the adults in the room. It's our job to model good behavior. It's our job to model our expectations. It's also our job to say, when we mess up, I'm sorry. Please forgive me, because that's what we want from them. Educators should recognize that reflection combined with experience leads to growth as a professional. Absolutely. I think that the more experience you have working with kids, working with positive colleagues, people that you can count on. Think back to the positive experiences that you had in school, what you liked, what teachers did. Talk to your kids. At the end of a new lesson, I'm always like, okay, if I have kids looking at me like I have no idea what's going on, I'm giving the thumbs up. Yes, you got me. I'm kind of there. Or, lady, you lost me. I want to know. I want to feel her. I want to feel her from my colleagues. Are the kids saying, that they have no idea what's going on? I'm really struggling with so and so. Could you help me? That doesn't mean that you're weak or you don't know how to teach or you don't know. It means that you're reaching out to the right people that maybe have more experience, people who maybe have some fabulous ideas, and work together, collaborate, use those. That's what's important. And I fully believe that. Educators should model integrity by their words and actions. I kind of talked about this, but 100%. You can't be nailing kids all the time because they're using profanity in your classroom and then you drop profanity. I mean, that sends a mixed message, like because you're the adult, you can. No. And the way you talk to a kid, that's huge. I get teased a lot at work because the English room never has any issues, and that's not true. It's just that I handle kids a little bit differently, and so kids don't always act out because I've built a relationship with them. So when a kid says to me, I can't do something or I'm stupid, a lot of the times I'll say, no, you're completely capable. It's just that you're being lazy right now. And I can say that because I have that rapport. I also don't call kids out in front of their peers. I don't like to be called out at a meeting. I would never want to be called out at a meeting for something I did. And so I don't treat kids the same way. And I think that we have to remember that just because we're in a position of authority as an educator, it doesn't mean that we should treat someone who is younger than us or has less power than us any differently than we want to be treated ourselves. I don't want to be talked to or talked down to. And so I don't talk to my kids that way. Educators should demonstrate professional friendliness, warmth, and genuine caring in their relationship with others while providing intellectual, emotional, and spiritual support. Absolutely. I believe this to me is harder with some difficult colleagues that you might have than with the kids. Because sometimes you do get teachers who get offended if you are successful with kids that they weren't. Then all of a sudden you're too easy, or you let kids do this, or you're a pushover. And that's usually not the case. Sometimes it may be, but sometimes it's that criticism you get from your colleagues that it's harder to be friendly and professional with because we naturally want to snap back sometimes. And so I think that it's harder with colleagues than it is with students, in my personal opinion and experience. Teachers understand the impact of community involvement and servant leadership as it applies to the welfare of others in the educational setting. Yes, absolutely. The kids that we are assisting to raise and educate in our schools are the same kids that are maybe carrying your groceries out for their part-time job, or taking your order at McDonald's, or internshipping at the local hospital or something. And so that's a reflection of you as an educator, but it's also a sense of we all belong together and we're all connected. And so if we can see the value in what we're doing, and that we see a value to something larger than ourselves, which is really hard for kids because they're so egocentrical, that we can refocus what we're doing, we can refocus our ideas, and we can say, okay, now how does this apply? How can I teach you? What skills can I give you, or can I help you with, or can I provide you with? They're going to help you be successful now and in the future and after that. And so we are all interconnected. I don't know how many times something's happened and, maybe my the electricity went out, or, I had a plumbing issue on a Saturday, and I had a really good relationship with the plumber, the local plumber in town, which is, I'm talking about a really small town, and I had their kid in class and they loved me, and they just, couldn't say anything. And I can call that person and say, hey, I have an issue. I'm sorry to bother you on Saturday. And because I have that relationship, because it's a sense of community, and because, we have a commonality, then it makes it easier because we are all interconnected. Educators should be committed to the profession of teaching and learning. Yes, I believe this. Sometimes this is hard, especially as a young educator, because you want to think that your life should be your life outside of school, and when you're not at school, then you shouldn't have to maintain the same standards. And I totally get that, but at the same time, you'll find when you're at the grocery store and you're scrubbed out and some kid comes up to you and you're like, "Hey, Mrs. Anderson, how's it going this weekend?" And you're like, "Oh, you're still their teacher. They don't take that away from you. You're not so and so's mom, or you're not a regular person. You're their teacher all the time." And so taking that seriously and being professional in everything that you do, your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, so many other social medias that I don't know how to use. Um, you have That's what they see you as. It's kind of like when you have a little kid in kindergarten and you're always going to be so and so's mom. That kid will never know your name. You're always so and so's mom. Well, you're always going to be the English teacher or the math teacher or the history teacher. And so maintaining that aspect of professionalism in all aspects of your life and remembering that it's just part of the job. You're never off duty. People are always looking at you, and whether it's looking at you for positive ways or looking at how they can try to maim your reputation because of something, they're always looking at you. And I think that's huge, that you have to remember that there's no breaks. You're not ever not the teacher. You're always the teacher. So I hope that this answers the questions and gives you a little insight into my philosophy and a little insight into my personality. Thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you and share a little bit about myself. So goodbye.